So we've been covering in this first half of our time together, really, what do people think of churches and the brand perceptions of churches in South Florida. Again, I think it's a mix of good news and bad news. Again, when you double click and you look at certain segments, the younger people or non-Christians, there's lots of work for us to regain the credibility of the church, ways that we could demonstrate how churches are doing good. I often see in our research that millennials are interested not just that the Christianity is true, but also that Christianity is good. And so with that in mind, let's dive into the second half of our findings, which relate to what people expect of churches. And so we've got one finding here for you where we look at what are the different ways in which people expect churches, would like to see churches active and involved in their communities. And you can see that South Florida residents actually are hopeful that churches would do a lot in their communities. There's a lot of sort of like, yes, we should see churches being active in these areas. This is what they would like to see. They're most likely to expect homeless services. That's top of the list, companionship for the elderly, youth or children's events, and then counseling services, which I think is a really interesting sort of finding, especially in light of the fact that the conversations around mental health and emotional health continue to rise. I think we'll have a tsunami of grief and anxiety and mental health challenges coming out of the coronavirus. And so a great way for churches to show up with solid, effective ministry is counseling, in addition to the other things we're showing here. This shows the top of the list, the first 7 items, and then here is the bottom half of that list, other elements that people are asking for churches to provide, a little bit lower in terms of overall percentages, but these still represent, significant proportions of the community. Notice, for example, that work in local schools, millennials, you'll see that on the right side, it's fourth from the bottom. 28% of millennials in South Florida are interested in churches providing work in local schools. That's actually higher than Gen X and much higher than boomers. Again, all of these tools that we're trying to provide to you are meant to be a roadmap. We know that each ministry, each church is very unique, but use this data to try to help customize the way you think about the strategies that your church is using to reach out and show the good that God calls us to do in your community.